In this episode, we'll be looking into more detail of the Death Guard, squad warfare, and how to make the most of repeat models with basic conversions. Stay tuned. Okay, so I did have all the audio recorded, but it turned out that it was absolute crap. So I'm gonna do the audio in my car separately. So let's dive in. So Conquest issue 6. First thing you notice, we get a repeat of the Plague Marines. That's not such a bad idea though, because it means you get to practice a bit more of your painting, and you can do some interesting things with duplicates, which I'll go through later on in the episode. So on the first page, you'll be told all about the favoured sons of Mortarion, known as the Tainted Sons. Now these are the Plague Marines that you are currently painting, the colour scheme rather, but it gives you a little background of who they are and what they do and what they specialise in. And yeah, I mean, they're not nice chaps at all. So once you flick over, you'll see that you are brought to the attention of the Death Guard organisation. Now the Legion is very old and it has been very successful, and as such the structure hasn't really changed. You will notice there is the Legion Command, and then you got 7 plague companies, number 7 being the favourite number of Nurgle, and then it'll tell you what's in the companies and how they're organised. The companies are then split into 7 sepsis cohorts. So you know, it's split down even more. Then you have a first and second maledictum in each cohort, and these are then split down into a further 7 colonies, and then it tells you what each of these is made up of as well. So as you can see, it's a very detailed composition of how they organize themselves, and they're not a crazy rabble as they first seem to appear to be. They're actually very well organised and disciplined. Moving on from there, we are brought to the attention of other colour schemes of the Death Guard. So each of these Death Guards are from different forces known as Vectoriums. So they usually sort of form within the cohorts or the companies. Each one has a favoured tactic and are well known for their sort of form of warfare, such as, you know, poxwalkers being thrown around, or you have, like, for example, the corpse makers, who like to burrow under the foundations of the enemy's fortresses and rot it from underneath. Then you got the build part, which I want to go through in more detail because I want to show you how to make the most of repetitive models. So any copy models, just how to vary them slightly. And then you got the paint guide, which I can put together some clips from the previous videos, but I'll also put a link in for the video that does most of the work. Alright, and then we revisit squad warfare. So here we will be going into a bit more depth on how to use your units, you know, moving them in the most effective way, shooting, so, you know, how to get your line of sight just right, and choosing targets. So here we'll explain how you can split your firing, as well as splitting your charges too in the charge phase, and the targets, the attacks on the variant targets. And then we've got the little data sheets here, all updated with a little tweak here and there. And we've got our scenario, stop the poxwalkers, which looks fun. We get to use all the models we have so far. And then on the back you've got your additional rules, which I always suggest just start using from the outset, because they make it more fun. And then finally on the back we get to see what's in the next issue. So 2 washes, which is great. It will help add a bit more detail to our current range that we have, and it help us keep up with our painting as well, so we don't get bogged down. And then after that we get a Primaris Librarian. Woohoo! Okay, so in this segment I want to show you how to make the most out of your repeat models, just using the resources that are given to you in this series. So the mold line remover, the clippers, the plastic glue, and the models in front of you. As you see, I've already kneaded them up and everything and clipped them out. And just familiarize yourself with all the different components. Okay, so just having a look at the models, you'll see that some of them do have pegs that are shaped in a specific way so that it fits a specific piece in a specific angle. But these can be sorted out. So this will be your first, most easiest way to make something look different, is by clipping out the peg and repositioning the arms. Could possibly do head swaps, but you would need a sculpting knife and modeling putty, and you'd need to do some sort of sculpting, and at the moment we're just using what's available in the series, so I don't think that would be an option. The next thing you can do is swap around the power packs. Now this is quite a simple thing. You will notice that the backs are shaped in a certain way so that a certain backpack or power pack will fit, but this can easily be sort of tweaked slightly. So if you have a look here, I did try and fit it on, but it didn't quite go on. So I trimmed the main peg to make sure that the peg wasn't too long, and I also trimmed this shape specific peg as well, because this was stopping the bottom half of it from getting too close to the model. I did try and then dry fit it again, and it still didn't fit, and that's when I realised that actually there was a little piece of plastic that was just blocking it from merging. See, that's when I thought, there you go, look there, I realised right there, oh yeah, there's this little bit right here. So carefully with the clippers I just trim this bit out, and you'll find in the next bit they actually fit quite well. So here you can see it's fitting very snugly, and I just needed a little bit of trimming until it fit. So always just remember, if you are going to trim parts, just take a little bit at a time until it fits. Don't just start chomping away. With the arm, I want to put it at a different angle, so I made sure I clipped the peg out, and then I sort of just practiced where I wanted it to go, just to see what it'd look like. And I thought I'm going to have it pointing upwards a bit more, because the original one is facing quite level, so I want it popping off into the air. So get the glue out, because you don't have a peg to hold it together, so it's no longer a push fit, and just glued around the area there. What I found out after trying to glue it was that there was a slight issue with the shape of the shoulder socket. It is sort of sculpted in a way so that part of the side of the chest fitted slightly under part of the shoulder on the arm. So I had to get the clippers out, and I had to just level off the pieces until it did fit. In this bit, for this other model, I thought, right, I could do something with the head. Now, it's got an anchor on it. I call it an anchor because it holds it in place, and it holds it in a very specific direction. This can easily be clipped out, and also I thought we could get rid of that spike and use it for something else. So I used the clippers gently, just squeezing in different directions, bit by bit. I didn't want to clip it straight off, because of course you would end up with a big lump of plastic on top of the head and an uneven surface on the bottom of that spike. So I just smooth off the helmet once that's done, and it looks kind of badass already. And then just carefully clip off the anchor. Don't have to worry about that being neat. Just make sure that you get rid of any chunky bits, and then had a look to see what it would look like facing the other direction, and I did like it facing backwards rather than forwards. Remember, less is more. And you have got a grace period as well, so if something doesn't quite fit right or doesn't look right, you can always just pull it apart, because the glue takes time to set. It takes time for it to melt the plastic and fuse it together, so you got that little grace period just to get the positions just right. As you can see, it looks kind of badass already. Looks pretty cool. Also, make sure that that spike bit, if you do end up cutting it off, just put it to one side carefully so you can find it when you need to. And there's the before and after. Okay, so the unit champion. Now, I wanted him to look a little less awkward. I found that the original design, with his power fist hanging right back like that, just seemed a bit clumsy. And I know they're supposed to be a bit clumsy, but I wanted a bit more of a powerful pose. So I just sort of did a little dry fit just to see where the arm would look good. And I thought a bit more forward facing, so it looks like he's about to grab something and crush it with his power fist. So in order for this to fit right, I needed to trim the growths off his shoulder. I think they're like horns. So I just clipped the ends off, but just so that it still looks like it was growing out now, I made sure that I didn't trim too much off, and then I used my clippers just to follow the grooves, so the grooves go to the ends, just so if you know, it keeps it looking sharp and menacing and grotesque. And there we go. See, as you can see, it fit a lot better. And you also notice on their head, I did trim back the horn as well, just again for a bit more variety, because there isn't much you can really do with this model with just the clippers and that. So there, as you see, I just clipped away a little tentacle that was stopping me from getting that arm nice and straight on the shoulder. And it's looking pretty cool now. It looks like he's ready to grab someone and crush them with his claw. Now, the other arm with the plague knife is posed upwards, and I thought it's going to look a bit bent like that. I can't really have him striking down because he's already got a claw out, so I'll just have this arm hanging down in a natural pose. And there's the original in the background there for comparison. So there you got your before and after, and you see, not too different but not too similar at the same time, so you got a bit of variety. You can always make up a bit more variety with your painting. I did want to go a step further, so I took the first one apart, and the little talismans hanging down from his belly, I thought I'd clip them off because I had a better idea for him. And what I ended up doing was just neatening the little ends and gluing it to the side of the power claw. And there you go. So there's your before and afters of the originals and the adjusted ones. And don't just stop there. You can do whatever you like to them. Rule of cool, always first, okay? If it looks cool, do it. And there you go. First conversions. Alright, so in this issue we are revisiting the rules for squads. So let's just quickly run through it. For this issue scenario, you will need both units of Plague Marines and your 6-box walkers and the intercessors and the reavers. Whenever you're moving a unit, remember, everyone within that unit must be within 2 inches of each other, okay? All your units should have all your models at least at least 2 inches within another friendly model of the same unit, like so. And then, of course, you move them as you go along. So, say if I was to move this 4, then I'd move this one 4 as well, making sure that he is within 2. I wouldn't be able to move him over here because it would break the unit cohesion. So, shooting as a unit, rules are slightly different as before. So, this unit of Plague Marines want to shoot these Reavers. Now, all of them can see at least one model from that unit, which means that whole unit can shoot anyone within that unit, because you're considering it as them all firing at the same time. Because they have different weapon profiles, you'd fire the bolt gun or the plasma gun or the grenade launcher separately. So say you shot plasma gun for near the 2, boom, he's instantly dead. Yeah, plasma gun absolutely melts him. Now you would think, okay, he can't see anyone left in the unit, but because the unit's shooting at the same time, you're just taking each thing separately because of the different profiles on the weapons. You can still shoot at that unit. Do remember though, if this chap was here and he couldn't see that first model in that unit before it was removed, then of course it cannot shoot anyway because it couldn't see anyone in the first place. Okay, splitting the fire. Now, a unit can do this if they can see more than one unit. You want to make sure you're within range, which you are, because the board isn't big enough for you to be out of range. If your weapons have multiple shots, which these would do, these bolt rifles get 2 shots if you're within 12 inches of the enemy. You still have to do both of those shots with that individual weapon at the same target, but individual models within that unit can split their fire however you want. So I could have this one and this one fire at the poxwalkers. Boom, boom, boom. 3 would hit, and there'd be 2 casualties, and then I'd have him fire off there. 1 would hit, and no dice, but you get the idea. Alright, okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so hypothetical. This unit of Reavers wants to charge both these units of Plague Marines. Now, in order to do that, you have to go through the steps as usual. So you declare your targets. This unit, they do Overwatch. So each of the units would shoot their weapons, remembering that you only hit on a 6 because it is a quick snapshot fire before you get charged. Once those have been sorted out, then the Reavers would roll to see if they make the charge distance. So it'd be the 2 dice, this instance 5 inches. Now, as long as you roll enough, you can charge both those units as you declared it. Right. So you would be within easily, okay? What, these like 3 inches from him, 2 inches from him. So you charge him into there, so he's charged and engaged that unit, and then you just go on to the nearest enemy models. Now, do remember that you cannot go within 1 inch of another enemy unit that you do not wish to charge. So when rolling your attacks, remember you have to split those rolls so you don't get confused who's being hit by what. So you'd roll this chap's dice for this unit and then their attacks for this unit. And then it would be the Death Guard's turn. So they would get the pile-in move first, boom, 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 like so. You could pile into either unit. Well, actually, you'd have to go towards the nearest enemy model, but that would bring him round here in between them. So say you declare your charge for both these units, but you only roll enough to reach the nearest unit. Well, tough luck. That's the name of the game. It's all a gamble. So because you have to declare the units that you're charging first, those units will always get to do their overwatch whether or not your charge is successful. In this case, it was only half successful. So they would move straight into this unit here. This unit, of course, is then free to do whatever they want. Okay. Units in the fight phase. Right. So alright, so let's go back to that scenario where the charge was successful for both units. Now, if you had rolled your dice lucky and you managed to eliminate these two Plague Marines and this Plague Marine also, you would then get to make a consolidation move. This is because you've eliminated some enemy units, some enemy models in their units, but you're not currently engaged with any models. So you'd get your 3-inch pile-in or your 3-inch consolidation move, and you'd have to move towards the nearest enemy model within that unit that you were engaged in. But you cannot break unit cohesion. So these models would then move towards that one like that, and it would move forward into there. So they are still within cohesion. Alright, so there is another scenario. So let's just say it's another turn, no one got hurt, but it's the Death Guard's attack first, and they happen to wipe out this guy. Okay, if he gets eliminated from the squad, for some reason you chose him instead of one of the outside models, then they have to move within unit cohesion as soon as possible. Right now they're locked in combat, so it's not possible, and with different units no less. So you'd have to wait until either he removes that from play, or he removes that from play, or both, and then when they do their consolidation move, it'll have to be so that they move closer together and within unit cohesion. So this week's scenario is Stop the Poxwalkers. So the Death Guard are getting a bit desperate now, as the Ultramarines are fighting them back further and further off the ship. So they're trying to launch their Poxwalkers into the ship to spread the disease as much as possible to take over the crew. So it is the Death Guard's objective to get at least one of these Poxwalkers to the starting circles at the end there. If they do, they win. And the Space Marines need to stop that from happening, so a win if they eliminate all the poxwalkers. So let's just go over the stats quickly. So for the poxwalkers, weapon skill 5+, so hitting all 5s. They'll need 5+ to wound as well, but they get 2 close combat attacks. They don't have a normal save, so they get their 5+ disgustingly resilient save. They only have 1 wound and they stumble along at 4 inches. The Plague Marines, these ones, they have a ballistic skill 3+ and a weapon skill 3+, so hitting on 3s. To wound for both shooting and close combat is a 4+. They only get 1 attack in close combat. They have a 3+ armor save, and they still get their 5+ disgustingly resilient save if they fail that armor save. They only have 1 wound and they shuffle along at 5 inches as well. Do remember the disgustingly resilient rule, it's very handy. And also remember the curse of the walking pox that the poxwalkers have. So if they eliminate an enemy model, then they get to replace one of their wounded. Then you have the intercessors, so these guys with big guns. Ballistic skill and weapon skill is 3+, so they hit on 3s. To wound for both shooting and combat, it's going to be 5s and 6s for the Plague Marines, and 3, 4, 5s and 6s for the poxwalkers. They get 2 attacks in close combat. They have a 3+ save and 2 wounds, and they move at a very quick 6 inches. The Reavers are very similar in the stats as well. The only difference is that they get 3 close combat attacks. Do remember that both units have pistols, so they can shoot even when they're in combat. Don't forget the extra rules section, so make sure you use the extra rules from previous issues as well. The Plague Marine's bolt gun gets rapid fire, so if you're within 12 inches of the enemy, you can shoot twice. You can rapid fire the plasma gun, so again within 12 inches you can shoot it twice. So always a 2+ to wound, but do remember that on the 1 on the roll to hit, it explodes, and if it does that, it will eliminate the model. And then you've got the Blight Launcher, so these 2 here, they will get 2 shots, and the enemy's armor save, so these 2 units, their armor save, so 3+ becomes a 5+. And there you have it. So have fun with it, mix it up, and once you've got more models, you can always come back to this scenario and make it a bit bigger, make it a bit more difficult, and that's it. Peace.